today on episode 89 of Mister Benfica. Benfica are 5 points clear, top of the table in the Liga NOS. The Darwin and Waldschmidt show continues as Benfica's young guns shine. Andre Almeida is injured badly and may not be back this season. Luis Felipe Vieira breaks his silence, and he does so in the friendly confines of the TV studios at RTP. Also in the news today, we've got the latest on women's football, men's basketball, rink hockey, and the other modalities. And there's also much, much more coming your way here on episode 89 of Mister Benfica. And welcome to another Mr. Benfica, episode 89. It is time for the news. I am, of course, the Mr. Mike Agustino. You can find me on Twitter at Benfica Mister, on Instagram at Mr. Benfica, on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Mr. Benfica. And as always, you can email me with any questions, concerns, criticisms, any of the above. I love it all. Positive, negative, anything. Constructive, not constructive, insulting, it don't matter. I'll take it all. I love it all. As long as you're giving me feedback, that means you're listening. So I take it all, and you can send me that feedback via email. It's the Mister Benfica, one word, obviously, the Mister Benfica at gmail.com. Now, in the news for this week, we start with women's football. And the women's football side continues their winning ways with a 3-1 road victory on Madeira Island against Marítimo, as the Águias fielded a somewhat rotated squad, having come off a difficult midweek cup tie last week, a difficult victory in the final minutes over Famalicão to book a spot in the Portuguese Cup final. And also, this match comes right on the verge of another international break, as Benfica have sent 4 women to the Portuguese national team for this international break. And as a result, some players were rested. Like I said, Luis Andrade opting to keep out Dani Neuhaus, Nicole, Ana Vitória, and Andrea Faria, to just name a few. And we got to see Carolina Violão get a rare start in goal, while Jaci Vasconcelos, Beatriz Cameirão, and Carlota Cristo worked their way into the starting lineup for the first time this season. And it didn't start well, as Benfica would fall behind early to Marítimo, find themselves down a goal, and to make matters worse, veteran central defender, Portugal international Carol Costa, sent off on an absolutely ridiculous call from a referee that had no business making that call. A referee sending her off for a play that is not a sending off anywhere in the world. Not sure what she was seeing. And I have to say that the level of refereeing for the women's game in Portugal does need to increase. There are some good ones, but then there are some others that are not so good. And this was a very, very, very bad decision by the referee. And it prejudicado, as you say in Portugal, it prejudicated, I guess is the English word. It really hurt this match overall. But Benfica would climb their way back, and with the help of an own goal, draw level before Darlene would convert a penalty kick in the 45th minute, +4, right on the stroke of halftime, after Mathilde was taken down in the area for the penalty kick. And on the hour mark, Portugal international central defender Silvia Rebelo would seal the 3 points with a goal. And Benfica will take 3 more points and stay perfect in the Liga BPI this season, sharing top spot right now with Sporting, as the two teams, as expected, will fight to the end. Of course, this is only the first phase of the championship this year. There's a different format, so they are the top 2 teams, I should say, not in the Liga BPI as a whole, but in the Liga BPI South region, okay, the South section, if you will. So the top half of the South section, top half of the North section will meet in the final stage later this year, as Benfica and Sporting obviously expected to both advance with ease and to fight fight it out for the title later on as the year goes by. Now, moving on, we had men's basketball this weekend, and the Eagles were 97-84 winners on Saturday over Immortal, and they improved to 2-0, being led by a 20-point performance from forward Scotty Lindsay, while center King Eric Coleman had 7 boards and 2 blocks to help out. Next, Benfica traveled to the city of the university. That's right. They're traveling to Coimbra on Saturday to take on Academica. Men's rink hockey were upset last weekend. That's right. They were beaten on the road 5-4 by Rio Ave. And the quad skaters now find themselves falling to 4th place with a record of 2 wins, a loss, and a tie, and they sit behind 3 teams, Arcade Barcelos, Valongo, and Sporting, who are all sitting on a record of 3 wins, no losses, and a tie. Next up for Benfica, Tomar at home on Saturday. Men's handball is victorious once again, this time winners 26-22 over Póvoa to keep pace with Sporting atop of the table. We're going to be saying that in a lot of these modalities, in a lot of the different sports, Benfica and Sporting taking the top spots, as both teams in men's handball have 7 wins and 0 losses at this stage of the championship. And next for Benfica is a road game on Thursday, tomorrow, October 22nd. By the time you hear this, they probably will have already played, but they're on the road at Boa Hora. Men's futsal also keeps winning, and last Sunday it was a 6-0 over Condozo, in Guimarães, and Benfica have started the league season off with 4 victories from their 4 matches, and this Saturday will look to stay perfect, this time at home against Viseu 2011. Women's futsal also long-awaited return to league play, as they have not had a match since this COVID outbreak shut everything down last spring. So no official matches for Benfica women's futsal since then. They finally get going this weekend, and the ladies on Saturday will host Venda Luisa, The super dominant women's rink hockey team is off to a 4-0 start, and most recently, they were in a rare close matchup, but it was a victory over rival Sporting. I said we were going to say them a lot in this episode. 4-3 at the João Rocha. That is Sporting's home arena, and Benfica sit alone atop the league, well over 100 straight victories now for the lady skaters. And in men's football, the B team would lose their fourth straight match, all of them by a single goal. And last Saturday, it was the turn of Aroca to beat the baby Benfica 1-0. And this coming week, it will be Academic de Viseu visiting the Seixal in the Liga Pro. A little cycling news, obviously not related to Benfica, but an update on last week, and a week has gone by, and João Almeida is still the leader in the Giro d'Italia. That's right. The Caldas da Rainha native still has the Maglia Rosa, which is the pink jersey, Italian for pink jersey, the Maglia Rosa, and he's holding on to the lead tonight by a mere 17 seconds. There are 4 stages to go in the Giro d'Italia. On Sunday, a winner will be crowned in Milan at the final stage, crossing the finish line in the final stage. All of Portugal, I think, as a whole, is behind João Almeida as he tries to make history and bring a major cycling title to Portugal. And he's only 22 years old. He's also leading in the young riders classification as well. His lead in that category is by 2 minutes and 48 seconds. He has the opportunity to come back to Portugal with 2 jerseys from this, the pink jersey and the white jersey, which represents the young riders. It'll all be decided in the next 4 days. There are 4 stages to go in Italy. Giro d'Italia 2020. And now for the Liga NOS results round number 4. Now I'm going to put them on the screen here. For those of you watching on YouTube, of course, special welcome as always. And again, if you're listening on the podcast, you are always welcome, as you are my original audience, as the show has now expanded to YouTube. All right, October the 17th, you can see it right there if you're watching. Round number 4, it starts with the Gil Vicente 1, Tondela 1, Marítimo 1, Portimonense 2, a surprise victory for the side from the Algarve on Madeira Island. Braga has found a little bit of form, their second straight win on the trot, this time 2-1 winners over Nacional at the Pedreira. And then the big one Saturday, our two main rivals, Sporting and Porto. You say, who are they playing against, right? That's the funny meme. It's like Grande Jogo, big game, Sporting e Porto. And the question is, contra quem? Against who? As these two teams are often, at least by many of us, seen as one and the same. But the best possible result for us in this one, they couldn't have gone any better, as Sporting and Porto draw 2-2, and both teams drop points to us, because on Sunday we get 4 more matches. It starts off with Bullish Sad 0-0 at the Jamor with Moreirense. Passos Ferreira 2-1 winners over Santa Clara. The Bravos Açorianos drop their first match of the season and lose pace with Benfica, Sporting, and Porto a little bit. Farense and Famalicão play to a 3-3 draw in Algarve. And of course, the match that this episode will spend the majority of the time talking about, it was in Vila do Conde, and it is Rio Ave 0, Benfica 3. Benfica pushes themselves further ahead of all contenders right now. It's only 4 rounds in. We can't get euphoric, can't get too excited, but it is a good place to be at this stage of the season. We can't ask for any better. And then on Monday, Boa Vista at home loses 1-0 to Vitória Guimarães, as João Henriques debuts as manager, having replaced Tiago Mendes. Something fitting about a Vitória Guimarães manager being named Henriques, of course, just like the first king of Portugal. And at that time, Guimarães, the capital of Portugal, when, of course, Afonso Henriques was king. Now, that is going to do it for the news this week. All right. Those of you listening on the podcast, we're going to take a quick little break. All right. You're going to get a quick message, and then we're going to get right into the match. We're going to get right into Rio Ave versus Benfica. If you're watching on YouTube, sit tight for about 10 seconds here on Mister Benfica on the PTB Media Network. And welcome back to Mr. Benfica. It is episode 89. I am the Mr. Mike Agustino, and we are ready to talk about Rio Ave versus Benfica. If you're watching on the screen, you see the lineups there. On the left here is the lineup for the home side, Rio Ave, at the Estádio dos Arcos. In goal is Kishek, Borokovic, Santos, and Montalegre across the back in this 3-4-2-1. Across the midfield, Ivo Pinto is on the right, Tarantini and Felipe Augusto in the center, with Carlos Mané going down the left. Up front, Oliveira and Lucas Oliveira Geraldes and Lucas Piazon playing in behind Bruno Moreira. Jorge Jesus would name the following 11, a little bit more full strength 11 for this one, as Odie is back in goal, as always. Andre Almeida, the captain, and the right back, the center back pairing for the first time, and it's the pairing we're probably going to see at the very least until January if Lucas Verissimo does in fact join us in January. If he can displace one of these two, we'll wait and see. But for now, it is Otamendi and Vertonghen. Supriyan returns after missing the last match with a facial fracture. You would have noticed he was wearing a protective mask over his face. Grimaldo is the left back. Gabriel playing in the hole with Pizzi next to him. Down the left is Everton Cebolinha, Rafa down the right, and up front is the dynamic duo, as I said, the two young guns, Luka Waldschmidt and Darwin Nunez. Let's get into the match here, as I'm gonna bring up the notes. And we were, of course, at the Estádio dos Arcos in Vila do Conde, and this is traditionally a very difficult place for Benfica to play. They usually have much trouble here. Of course, without a crowd, I don't know that hurts. I don't know if that helps Benfica at all. There not being a crowd, because it's typically a very partisan Benfica crowd at this stadium. But anyhow, there is no fans in the stands, as you know, and the pitch seemed to be in pretty good condition. So not much for Benfica to worry about in terms of the trip to what is normally a tough location for them. We'll go right into the minute by minute here as I pull it up and we get the ticker, as it's called. And Benfica gets started well again, right off the front foot. And this is a characteristic of a JJ-led team. There's no question about it. This is one major difference. If you were watching last season and you're watching this season, this team comes out flying. I'm concerned. What concerns me is what's going to happen. And we saw it once. We saw it in that game no one wants to talk about, that match in Greece against PAOK that no one wants to talk about. But I'm very concerned what happens when that goal doesn't come early. How will the team respond? Now, the team is playing better now. The team has been together almost 2 months. Actually, it was about a month ago. So they've been together about 5 weeks longer than they were in that match. It looks to me like this is turning into a cohesive unit. I think you're seeing this team come together. This team is a long way from being, anywhere near their best. Jorge Jesus would say just as much. And there's still a lot of improvement to do, but you can see a gradual progression in this squad week to week, with the exception of that Ferenc game, which was a bit of a step back. But at the same time, you also saw progress in the sense that you saw them overcome a psychological barrier, having known that Porto had dropped points. The nerves were there. Jorge Jesus pointed it out. He said he felt that was the difference. This week, it looks like that has been addressed because there was no nerves. This team came out confident. This team came out ready to play. This match was in control from the first to the final whistle. Very, very solid performance. It wasn't a great performance, but a very solid professional performance from Benfica. And it would not take long. It would be in the 5th minute. Benfica would get on the board, and it is Jean-Luc Waldschmidt with an assist from Everton Cebolinha. This is a beautiful goal. It starts with a cross from Andre Almeida. He whips it across, and Darwin Nunez actually gets to it first, and he flicks it. He gets himself in good position, and he flicks it towards the back post, where Everton is running onto it. Everton then uses a bit of creativity to use the outside, or I should say, use the inside of his left heel, as he does a little bit of a trick play. But a shot was going to be blocked by the Rio Ave defender. The Rio Ave defender was definitely standing in his line to goal. He could have crossed it conventionally, but it would have given the defender time to react. Instead, Darwin, uses his right foot to fake and then uses the inside of his left heel to flick the ball back in towards the penalty spot, right on to the stride of an on-running Luka Waldschmidt, and with the goalkeeper now out of position and a field player standing on the line, Luka Waldschmidt with his left foot just absolutely sends a missile into the upper netting. under the bar, of course, and into the upper netting. Benfica ahead 1-0 in the 5th minute, and this was exactly what we needed in this match. I have said, and I said last episode, and I was very concerned about this match because Benfica have a treacherous, um, almost tragic record after international breaks. It's almost a given that on the back end of an international break, Benfica come in sluggish, Benfica come in sloppy. Guys like Everton and Otamendi played in South America earlier in the week, okay? They were flying from places like Bolivia and from Brazil and Argentina. Otamendi, for example, played his second match in Bolivia before flying back to Europe. Okay, long journey. Both of them very, very long flights. Other players also away with national teams. Vertonghen, Rafa, Waldschmidt was with the German national team. Odi with the Greek national team. A lot of players scattered throughout Europe and the world, to be exact. And normally they come in sluggish, they come in jet lag, they come in tired into these matches. I expected some more changes, but JJ's not having any of that. No excuses. I like this about JJ, okay? He does not take excuses, and he puts a strong team on the field, and he puts his best 11 out there, and he gets a solid performance, like I said, and it starts right off the bat flying as Waldschmidt picks up his 3rd goal of the season off a beautiful assist from Cebolinha. 2 minutes later, and Pizzi's called for a foul on Ivo Pinto. Carlos Mané, a minute after that, called for a foul on Rafa. And we move ahead to the 10th minute, and there's a foul by Andre Almeida on Carlos Mané. And this was an ugly, ugly collision of knees. Andre Almeida's leg hyperextended, or I should say fully extended, locked, if you will. His knee is locked as he collides knees with Carlos Mané. Yes, the foul was on him. I think the referee got the call right. However, the damage was also felt by him. And let me say, I have to be the first. I have to be fair. And I have I've turned on this microphone and I have criticized Andre Almeida week after week since June. But my goodness, this is horrible. And my heart goes out to Andre Almeida. You never like to see a player get hurt like this. Jorge Jesus would say after the match that it was, grave. It was a very serious injury, a grave injury, and we would find out in the following days. We have cruciate ligament damage, the anterior cruciate ligament, the ACL, the MCL. It sounds like his whole knee was torn up. And, anytime you extend your leg, anytime your foot gets caught in the ground and your knee is locked like that and there's contact or there's body weight coming in awkwardly, ligaments just are not meant to hold that type of impact. And I'm wishing Andre Almeida the speediest of possible recovery. The earliest they're saying that we can expect him back is possibly April, right towards the end of the season on an optimistic estimate. Very possible that this is it for 2020, 2021 for Andre Almeida. And nobody likes to see that, okay? Regardless of what I thought of him as a player or even as a leader, okay? This is a human being, and I can't even imagine the pain he's feeling. A former roommate of mine who I used to play with, a good friend of mine named Igor, shout out Igor, did this to his knee when we were younger, just playing in the park. It wasn't even a training. It wasn't a match. It was a pickup game. We were just a bunch of guys in the park kicking the ball around, and just took a bad step and, had contact, had a collision. And I saw him suffer for a year. The rehab was long and arduous. Granted, Andre Almeida will have world-class, facilities and world-class staff to help him recover from this imminent surgery if he hasn't already been operated. This requires surgery. There's no way around it. So I'm wishing, of course, the best and the speediest of recoveries to our captain or one of our captains, Andre Almeida. With that, he needed to be substituted, obviously, and it's an opportunity for Gilberto to come on. Gilberto, the former Fluminense right back, heavily criticized in preseason. Um, I personally prefer to trust what I've seen with my eyes on Gilberto, and I have a little bit of an unfair, I wouldn't call it an advantage, but I saw him play plenty last year in the Brasileirão, and I have a higher view of him than a lot of people. But I've seen a lot more of him. By no means is he a world-class right back, but I think with time and with this manager, Gilberto will be a very serviceable right back. And you even saw it in this match that as the match went on, he got better. He got more comfortable. Okay, remember that he didn't even have a chance to warm up. He literally went cold off the bench onto the park um, to replace an injured under Almeida. And of course, it's the type of injury that leaves players kind of in shock. And the team needs to regroup mentally, and especially when it's the guy wearing the captain's armband, as this is the most unfortunate, but for Gilberto, this is his opportunity and he needs to make the most of it. And I think he got off to a decent start. And for me, he earned himself another start in the position. Um, 16th minute, and Odie comes up with a nice save as Ivo Pinto from the left has a left-footed shot from the right side of the box, saved in the bottom right corner. He was set up by Lucas Piazzon. Um, in the 18th minute, we thought we had another. It was a Darwin Nunez, this time finally getting on the score sheet. We thought on a nice tap in that was set up by his buddy Luka Waldschmidt, who is just playing astronomical right now. He's just out of the stratosphere with his play. I how could you imagine this type of start for a young German player coming to Portugal? The culture shock had to have set him back, but it doesn't look like it, as he has just really he has this good wavelength, this good communication, nonverbal communication connection with Darwin Nunez. And here he sets up the Uruguayan. We thought he finally got on the score sheet, but then VAR would rule that he was offside by a toenail, and the goal would be annulled, and the result would remain 1-0. 24th minute, and it's Rafa right-footed shot from the center of the box, saved in the center of the goal by Pavel Kizek. 28th minute, and it's Darwin Nunez once again with a very nice through ball for Waldschmidt, but Waldschmidt is called offside. That's another one that went in the goal. We thought we finally had 2-0 again, but again, VAR would review and overturn the original call on the field, as Benfica has another goal annulled by VAR. Correctly so, though. The offside was correct. As Luka Waldschmidt denied his 4th goal of the season. 31st minute, and we have an attempt blocked. It's Gabriel, my man Gabriel. Yes, I'm saying it again. My man Gabriel. He's a bit inconsistent. He's either hot or cold, man. This guy is either on fire or he's ice cold. In this match, he was on fire. All right. The week before, he was god awful. And in this one, he was here. Very elevated level for Gabriel. And it I guess 2 weeks of training with Jorge Jesus was just what Gabriel needed. His left-footed shot here from the box was blocked, from outside the box was blocked. 32nd minute, Aderlan Santos tries a through ball to Bruno Moreira, but the referee blows his whistle as the linesman's flag is up for offside. And in the 36th, we have another attempt blocked. This time it's Rio Ave. It is Geraldes, right-footed shot from the left side of the box, but this one is blocked by Supriyan Vertonghen. We had another nice play by Otamendi in the next sequence, winning a ball and starting up a counterattack that finishes with Gilberto winning a free kick in the attacking half. Ensuing free kick would end up with Darwin being called for a handball in the 42nd. But in the 43rd, another attempt blocked. It's Darwin Nunez once again, and his right-footed shot from the center of the box is blocked, set up perfectly on a platter by Gianluca Waldschmidt, his strike partner. And that will take us to halftime. And actually, that will not take us to halftime. I stand corrected because in the 45th minute, 45th plus 3, we finally get that all-important second goal. And this goal is crucial because if this game goes back into the locker room, into the team room, 1-0, Rio Ave are going to be confident that they can reorganize, that they can come out, they can stymie Benfica a little bit more. Rio Ave, to their credit, as a lot of people say to their credit, maybe it's not a credit because it's not successful when Portuguese teams try to do this, but they came out and they tried to play against Benfica. They didn't sink deep lines into their area. They didn't sit in a deep, block. They tried to play and basically gave Benfica all kinds of space as a result. Finally, as we said, it is 45 plus 3. And again, it is the dynamic duo, as this time it's Darwin Nunez setting up none other than Luka Waldschmidt. And Waldschmidt makes it 2-0 with a left-footed shot from the center of the box, bottom left corner. Another assist for Darwin Nunez. And Benfica's front strike pair is very, very productive this season. You cannot dispute that, okay? There are people saying that Darwin needs to score goals because of his price tag. I say, what difference does it make who scores the goals if he's creating them? Yeah, he's a forward, but if he's doing the work and the ball is going in the goal, if he's get a goal or an assist, that is the same amount of production. That is a mathematic formula. They are both worth the same, okay? At the end of the day, it is the goals for the team that count. It's not endless dribbles in midfield. It's not, flipping the ball over defenders' heads, bringing it down, putting it through their legs, and then passing it sideways. No, it is an assist which leads to a goal. Whether he scores the goal or it's Waldschmidt or it's anybody else, that shouldn't make a difference. If your forward has 4 assists from 4 matches, he is doing his job and he is a good investment. The goals are going to come. Anybody watching can see that the goals are going to come. It's only a matter of time. This kid is just getting his Benfica career started so well. It's hard to remember a Benfica player coming in from outside Portugal this young, this early, with this type of expectation and delivering so soon. Very, very good first 4 matches from the Uruguayan international Darwin Nunez. And of course, phenomenal start to the season for the German international Luka Waldschmidt. It's 2-0 to Benfica, and they go into the team room with that lead. And I'm going to take a quick break on the podcast and on YouTube. I'm going to take a quick pause, grab a swig of water, and when we return, we will get into the second half of Rio Ave, Benfica, here on Mister Benfica on the PTB Media Network. I am the Mr. Mike Agostino, and we'll be right back. And the second half will begin. Okay. No changes to speak of. Neither team goes to the bench at halftime. As in the 51st minute, Benfica pick up right where they left off. And it's Darwin again, a right-footed shot from outside the box. Close, but he misses. It just left. And everybody's talking about this, whether you're watching it on Sport TV, whether you're watching BTV, whether you're watching TVE's Mais Football Show, whether you're listening to me, you're listening to Benfica Podcast, Benfica Independent, Benfica FM, whoever you're listening to, everyone is pointing out that you can see the entire team is working for Darwin to get his first goal. They're trying to set him up. I'm not so sure I really want the team doing that, to be honest. Again, like I said, if the ball's going in the net, if it's going in the goal, whether it's him or it's someone else, at the end of the day, it counts the same for the team. I get why they're doing that. They're trying to pick up his confidence. He may be feeling a little bit down that he hasn't put one in the goal yet, as we saw him pound the ground when he got an assist. I didn't mention it there when he got the assist to Darwin to Waldschmidt in the previous goal. He was a little upset with himself that he had to pass it up, but he made the right decision. Okay. And I want Darwin to make the right decision. I don't want him to change his mind and start looking for a goal. We see this sometimes with Cristiano Ronaldo, okay? And clearly these two players are not even in the same solar system. But it's not fair to compare Darwin to Cristiano Ronaldo in any way. However, this is something you see when Cristiano hasn't scored in a while or in a match. You see him he gets the license. And when you're CR7, you get that license, and that's the right thing to do, to start shooting from everywhere, from anywhere, to start looking for that goal. All right, he takes all the free kicks, all the penalty kicks. He's on the end of every cross. He's trying desperately to get that goal. I don't really want to see Darwin worrying about that right now. Okay, Darwin is at a stage in his career. He's at the very, very start. He's in the launch pad. Okay, he has the potential to be a rocket ship that just blows up and shoots into the sky. And I don't want to see him psychologically getting worried about being the one to score goals. I don't care about his price tag. I say this week after week after week. I don't care about that. Okay, the market is inflated. Benfica are overcharged for players. There's commissions involved in that. Okay, you can't look at that transfer number as a true value. Okay, the market's all over the place. Okay, this takes a little bit of market understanding, and I'm not here to talk about that, obviously, but just to give a quick explanation, or a quick, it's just, listen, it is like when, okay, so there's less money floating in the market now. Okay, so so the price of a commodity goes up. In this case, the players are the commodities. What you're seeing is a lot of teams right now don't have the money to purchase players. They are swapping players to lower that price. Case in point, Benfica and Manchester City make that deal for Ruben Dias. Otamendi gets included to lower that price because that kind of cash is just not on hand. All right. Benfica made the decision because their cash is on hand. Because Benfica sold João Felix, they have more cash on hand, or they have more cash flow at least, and have access to more cash than other teams because of that giant sale last year. Not to mention, they probably were 75% sure they were going to make another big sale this season, and they did. So, they had good credit in picking up Darwin Nunez for the price they did. But part of the reason they had to pay that much was because of their own success. The other teams know Benfica have the money and will pay it. Benfica right now have been able to sign players that they would never be able to compete for otherwise because of the cash on hand, or because of the cash flow that they have, their access to funds, because of good business deals done. And for as much as I criticize Luis Felipe Vieira, and you heard about it on the top. If we want to sidetrack for a second and talk about his appearance on Trio de Tac, that's going to be another episode. Yeah, that's right. I got another episode coming. I took notes last night rather than recording this episode like I had originally planned, the one you're listening to now. I decided to watch the entirety of that interview, that Luis Felipe Vieira interview on RTP's Trio de Tac, and I will release an episode shortly in the next couple days with my reaction to that. I'll recap it. I'll give my opinion on that. But for all that I have criticized the president, and may continue to do, if he does in fact win this election, which I'm going to go on the record and say I think he will. I just think that it's going to be very hard for any opposition to beat him when the opposition votes are being split. That's just the way that I look at it from a sheer numbers and probability standpoint. So I'm pretty sure I will still continue to find things to criticize this president about. One thing I have to give due is we have made good sales. We have more money than the rest of this league, maybe the rest of the league combined. Who knows? I haven't seen the financials, but yes, we have been much less hurt by COVID than most teams, not just in Portugal, but most teams. There's reasons for that. Good sales is one of them. We have our own television network that generates additional revenue. Okay, we have some of those pet projects, some of those pet investments that the president has that we don't like, that we would like to see reinvested into the football club. Well, those at least have some value, and those keep us more stable than our rivals because we don't just dump the money into football players who may or may not turn out. So what happens is Benfica have been able to sign players like Darwin, players like Waldschmidt, players like Jan Vertonghen, Otamendi, because Everton Cebolinha, Pedrinho was last year, but Everton Cebolinha, these players would have never been a possibility in a normal market. If the other teams, the other players in the market weren't hurting so much for cash, Benfica would have had a hard time assembling this strong of a team, okay? But because Benfica are where they are financially, players realize this is the best deal they're going to get in this current situation, this current economic situation. Most teams are crippled by COVID. Benfica survived it. Benfica, have made a couple sales and they're good. And they're going to stand to make more money with Carlos Vinicius if he does, in fact, go at the end of the season. So on that standpoint, Benfica have done well enough to put themselves in a position where they could sign these players. Our rivals can't do it, either of them. Okay, you saw them. And because of the financial situation at our rivals, you could see that they couldn't even sell players for their true value. They had to undersell everybody because everybody knows that those clubs were desperate to sell. So back to where we were talking about Darwin Nunez. Let's not get hung up on that 25 million or whatever it was euro price tag for his services. Again, like I said, this is a 5-year investment. This guy's already producing some dividends in year one, all right, in month one, quarter one, if you look at it from a financial standpoint. It's not the max. It's not what it's going to be, but already there's a little bit of dividends, being sprinkled in. And I don't care if he scores or assists. If he's doing one or the other, that is the same number of production. That is the same value, the same mathematic property in terms of goals produced. Whether he's the one that pushes it across the line or the one that sets up whoever's going to push it across the line. At the end of the day, these are goals Benfica are scoring. And this was things we weren't able to do last season, let's be honest. Okay, we could not get goals down the stretch, and when we did, we gave them up as a result. Right after. So Jorge Jesus has already sewed up two things, and I like this. This defense, you remove the Farense game, and it really looks good. This defense, when Jan Vertonghen is there, all right, has given up very few goals. Okay, you go through. They gave up one, I believe, one against Famalicão. And the three against Farense, and that's it. 4 matches, 4 goals allowed. You take out the one game where we gave up 3, and it's an even better number. And I like that Benfica at both ends of the pitch, defensively and offensively, are increasing their number. Okay, they're increasing their production, whether it's scoring goals or preventing them. Those are the two numbers that matter the most. Everything else is open to interpretation. Everything else may be an important piece to a final product, but those two things are the final product. Goals scored, goals allowed. That, at the end of the day, is what decides who wins and who loses. So it's good to see Benfica improve on that. All right, I digress. Let's get back to the match, and we'll move ahead to minute 60. We'll go right into the hour mark, and it's a substitution for Rio Ave. Gelson comes on. Tarantini, the experienced midfielder, the captain of Rio Ave, comes off. Also In the same stoppage, Ronan replaces Geralds, and Pelé, our former youth product, Pelé, now a Guinea-Bissau international, replaces Bruno Moreira. And Jorge Jesus will counter that move in the 65th minute, and he will replace Everton Cebolinha with Julian Weigel. And I'm still waiting for big things from Julian Weigel under Jorge Jesus. I think he's a project that the manager is working on. I truly believe that. All right. And this is an interesting substitution. I think it's a good move. It changes the look of the team, but Everton clearly was not himself in this match again. But it's understandable. He'd been halfway around the world this week, and not easy to get off a plane after flying that long and having played at altitude on top of that, with Brazil, and he is given the rest of the night off at the 65th minute. Good move by Jorge Jesus. And in the 69th, it looks like we're going to get a penalty, okay? This is a very nice play from Darwin Nunez. What a game this kid had. As he beats his defender. He gets goal side of him, starts running at the goal from the left side. Okay, so he's making a straight dart center from the left into the box. He is taken down, and the referee points to the spot. It is a penalty kick, but then you see the referee with his hand to his ear, and he is informed that Darwin Nunez was, in fact, offside at the start of the play. Now, this has caused some controversy. Watching it live and watching the replay, he looked on. He looked even to me. I guess even isn't even a thing anymore, because now when you've got VAR, measuring it out to the centimeter, it's almost impossible to be completely even. We would have called this even before VAR. And if you watch the lines of the lawnmower, the lines cut into the pitch, he looks even. The reason the flag didn't go up is because they're even on the line. Well, people have verified that, in fact, the pitch was cut and the lines were crooked. So that created a little bit of an optical illusion. Amazing that on the VAR it shows them 43 centimeters offside. I mean, it's not a lot, but you'd think that would be something that you could see with the naked eye. But another opportunity for Benfica called back. A VAR was not our friend in this match. I don't think the VAR was wrong on any instance. I think it was a lot of bad luck in regard to the VAR. And in the 75th minute now, it's another substitution for Rio Ave. Diego Lopes replaces Lucas Piazon, and Gabriel Zinho replaces Carlos Mané. Gabriel Zinho gave us a hard time last season, if you remember. And he gets an opportunity right off the bat in his first play in the match, as he has a right-footed shot from the center of the box, but blocked by Nicolas Otamendi. A very, very good game, in my opinion, for Otamendi. He makes quite a nice partnership with Cyprian Vertonghen. Yes, they're on the wrong side of 30 for some people, but they are central defenders. They are central defenders. How many great central defenders have we seen play well into their 30s? I mean, look, our rivals have a 52-year-old Pep, who is still their best central defender. And if you watched the national team last week, Pep playing next to Ruben Diaz looks about 10 years younger than he does playing at Porto. But it's I think this is a good pairing for the time being, and for the season and for next season. They're both at stages in their career where they can still log minutes. We'll see what we get from Lucas Verissimo in January, if he does in fact come. And we'll see what we get from this kid we picked up from Barcelona B. A lot of people are very, very high on him as well. So there's a lot of matches. We're going to be playing twice a week for the next several weeks. So there's going to be opportunities for a lot of guys to play. 77th minute, and Gilberto goes into the book for a bad foul on Gelson. And in the 79th, Gabriel with another left-footed shot outside the box, blocked. Gabriel covered a lot of territory in this match, and when we get to the goal point in a little bit, you will see that he actually he was the man of the match, statistically speaking, or analytically speaking, through goal point. And when you look at his heat map, it's interesting because you think of the contrast of Gabriel to Julian Weigel, um, in that position. And the criticism on Weigel is that he sits between the two center backs, passes the ball sideways, which I think is what we needed last week against Farense. So that isn't always a bad thing. But when you see the heat map, um, Gabriel covers more space than Weigel. It's true. I'm a big fan of Julian Weigel, and I hope that the manager can find a spot for him and can get something out of that immense talent that is in that player. And I hope that he's not just a bad fit for Jorge Jesus, because he is a very, very talented player. 79th minute, and it's Otamendi's turn to go in the books for a foul on Ronan. JJ will go to the bench again in the 80th. He'll make a double substitution. Nuno Tavares comes in and replaces Rafa, so we're going to take a wing back and play him a little further up the pitch. I don't mind the substitution one bit when you're winning 2-0. Why not put a guy that with speed that can break out on the counter, but that also has some defensive mentality and some defensive instincts, as well as just blazing speed on the left side to help out with the cover for Grimaldo. Rafa comes off, and also Haris Seferovic, the Swiss assassin, replaces the Uruguayan wonder kid, Darwin Nunez. 80th minute, and this time it is Rio Ave's Ivo Pinto who goes in the book. Yellow card for a bad foul. And we get another attempt missed in the 83rd minute, and it is Haris Seferovic who misses on the right. He got on the end of a cross from Pizzi. Seferovic's header misses, but the ball does fall right into the stride of one Gabriel Pirjapelt, and Gabriel will score and open up his goal scoring tally for this season and complete his superb match with a goal. Benfica make it 3-0. And from there, Benfica see out the result. Not much else to talk about. Weigel goes in the book for a foul at 90 plus 1. And at 90 plus 4, the referee will blow his whistle for full time. And Benfica will take the victory and move to 4 victories in 4 matches. And let's take a look at the goal point now and see what the analytics have to say about this performance for Benfica. If you see on your screen, it's coming up. If you're watching on, if you're listening on the podcast, I will read it to you. So you see on the left-hand side, Mario Silva's Rio Ave, 0.2 expected goals. Benfica limited them to literally no chances. A team average rating of 5.15 for Rio Ave. The goalkeeper Kishek with a 4.6. Ivo Pinto 4.8, Borokovic 6.0, Tarantini 5.4, Aderlan Santos 6.1, Felipe Agus 5.3, Monte with a 6.0, Carlos Mané 4.0, Gerald 5.3, Piazon 4.6, and Bruno Moreira 4.4. Benfica frustrated Rio Ave, to say the least. This was not the Rio Ave we normally see, but a lot of that is due to is a credit to the way Benfica played and the way they controlled the match. You can see Jorge Jesus' Benfica team there with the 6.30 average rating. Benfica's expected goals was 1.7. They got 3, so that's a good showing for Benfica. Odi in goal got a 6.6. Andre Almeida, of course, injured very early, no rating. Otamendi with a 5.6. Vertonghen with a 5.8. Grimaldo 6.0. Everton Cebolinha with a 5.9. Luis Afonso Fernandes, better known to you and I as Pizzi, with the 6.1. Serviceable performance. Gabriel, the man of the match here, with an 8.4. Analytically speaking, the man of the match. Luka Waldschmidt, not that far behind him. It would have been my pick for man of the match. Luka Waldschmidt with 2 goals and then an assist that was taken away. 7.9 for Waldschmidt. Rafa with a 5.2, Darwin with a 6.3, and then we see ratings for substitutions there. Gilberto earning a 5.8 off the bench, and Weigl with a 5.9 despite only playing 20 minutes in this match. Nuno Tavares and Seferovic do not earn a rating. Now let's look at the man of the match here. It is Gabriel Pires is what it says there on your screen with a goal. He had 7 progressive or forward passes correctly. 3 for 2 on dribbles, or 2 for 3, I should say. 3 dribbles attempted, 2 completed. He was fouled 5 times. He had 5 defensive actions in the adversary's midfield, 4 interceptions, and a very, very nice 8 ball recoveries. And I pointed to his heat map, and if you can see it there, I'm pointing to it. As you can see, he spent a lot of time. Normally, when Weigl plays that position, at least the way he's played it since he arrived, he sits in this area here. Gabriel, you can see, spent most of his time just slightly left or just slightly right to it, but he does spend most of his time in his own half also. But a very, very good performance from this Gabriel Pires. Now the statistics: total shots 4 to Rio Ave, 13 to Benfica. Shots on goal 2 to Rio Ave, 6 to Benfica. Total actions in the adversary or in the opponent's area: 12 from Rio Ave to 30 from Benfica. Each team with 4 corners. Pass efficiency: Benfica 81% efficient with the passes. Rio Ave with the also respectable 79%. When it comes to the vertical pass, Benfica just slightly better at 64% to Rio Ave 60. Here's a stat where Benfica blew them out of the water. It is defensive actions in the opposition's midfield, and Benfica 24 actions in Rio Ave's midfield. That means Benfica playing higher up the pitch, playing in Rio Ave's into the field, and being very successful at doing so. Fouls committed: 14 for Rio Ave, 17 for Benfica, and ball possession, Benfica 53 to 47%. All right. I know this was a little bit of a quicker episode, but that is going to do it for episode 89 here of Mr. Benfica. Let's just quickly actually go through the table here as I pull it up on the screen, as most of you are seeing this. If you're listening on the podcast, of course, as always, I will read you the table. So after 4 rounds, Benfica, top of the table, perfect 12 points from 4 matches, 13 goals for, 3 against. I had said 4 earlier. It's actually 3 against, a plus 10 goal difference. Porto second, 5 points back with 7. Sporting also on 7 in third, and Santa Clara and Vitória Guimarães round out 4th and 5th, also on 7 points. Braga already up to 6th. They have 6 points, as does Marítimo. Famalicão are 8th with 5. Belenenses SAD, our next opponents, also with 5, as is Nacional and Moreirense and Gil Vicente. And then Passos Ferreira with 4. Portimonense with 4. Rio Ave in 15th with 3. While Tondela, Boa Vista, and Farense are in the relegation zone early on. 2 points for Tondela and Boa Vista, 1 point for Farense thus far. Let's take a look at the statistical leaders. We'll start with scorers. And right now, the top scorer in the league belongs to Marítimo. It is Rodrigo Pinho. He's got 5. Luca Waldschmidt, Thiago Santana right behind him. Thiago Santana of Santa Clara. They have 4 apiece. Seferovic is 4th with 3, and he shares that spot with Ruben Lameiras of Famalicão, while we have a whole slew of players with 2. And move to assists, and that's where we see Darwin Nunez top of the list with 4 assists, and Everton is second with 3 assists. So we have the first and second best assist players right now, or assist givers in the league. Alex Telles just third with 2, but he is gone no longer, at Porto. He's part of Manchester United now. Ryan Gauld has 2, as does Angel Gomez, Tecatito Corona, and Wanderson Galeno, and then a whole slew, 50 or so players with 1. All right, so let's go to next week's matches. All right, we're going to look at round number 5 before we say goodbye for this episode. And the round gets started off on the 23rd of October on Friday, Tondela hosting Portimonense. On October the 24th, Nacional host Paços de Ferreira. Santa Clara host Sporting in the Azores in São Miguel. Football Club de Porto will host Gil Vicente. And then Sunday, we've got Farense hosting Rio Ave. Marítimo traveling to Moreirense, Famalicão at home to Boa Vista, and the Minho Derby this Sunday. Vitória Guimarães hosting Sporting Braga. Benfica on Monday will host Belenenses SAD. Don't forget, Benfica playing Thursday, October the 22nd. By the time you hear this, you probably will have already watched the match. It's an early one. It's a 12:55 p.m. Eastern time kickoff here in the United States, 5:55 or 17:55 in Portugal. Benfica travel to Poland to take on Lech Poznan in match day 1 of the Europa League group stage. And of course, this weekend or Monday at the latest, there will be another episode of Mister Benfica reviewing that precise match there. Okay, so we will have a Europa League match review coming your way in the coming days. And that is going to do it for this episode 89. Thank you for joining me, whether it's on YouTube or on the podcast. If you're on the podcast, don't forget, you can find Mr. Benfica on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, you name it. We are there. Tune in. We're on virtually every single podcast platform with Mr. Benfica. So do follow the show. And if you can, please give it a rating wherever ratings are available. That will give more people the opportunity to find this show. If you're watching on YouTube, please go to the bottom of the screen there, hit subscribe, and hit the little bell next to it so that you get alerted when I put out more content on YouTube. I'm trying to increase the YouTube subscriptions this month. All right, that's going to be my goal. We got 9 days or 10 days left in the month. I'm going to try to gain going to try to double my YouTube subscriptions if possible. Try to get more plays so that more people can find this show, and hopefully by finding it on YouTube, it will lead them to the podcast, because that's ultimately where I want you to listen. But that is going to do it, like I said, for this week, or for this episode rather. And I will catch you in a couple days with either one of the following. The next time you hear from me, it'll either be a review of the Fluis Flifiera interview on Trio de Tac, a women's team review, or it'll be a review of tomorrow's Europa League match. So enjoy the rest of your week, Benfica Nation, and I'll be back with you very soon here on Mr. Benfica. I am the Mr. Mike Agustinu. Follow me, of course, on Twitter at Benfica Mister, on Instagram at Mr. Benfica. And don't forget, feel free to shoot me an email, themrbenfica@gmail.com. Carrega Benfica, Força Benfica, we are Benfica, por todos That's e pluribus unum. And I will see you next week or next episode here on Mr. Benfica. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of the week.